Welcome to the MMHP in the 989, channeling all styles and eras of Michigan music history. Recorded live from the Michigan Rock Legends Hall of Fame, located inside the Bay County Historical Museum.
From the city by the bay.
Featuring Dr. J, Fred Reif, Mr. Mike, and your host, Scott Baker. Brought to you by the 989 Podcast Network and the Michigan Rock Legends Hall of Fame, located at the Bay County Historical Society Museum at 321 Washington Avenue, Bay City, Michigan.
All right, here we are, special edition from the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends studio here at the Historical Museum of Bay County. First off, I guess we could talk about the studio itself. This was an office on the second floor, very close to the gallery where the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends exhibit is. And we've been doing our podcast here for, well, a few months anyway.
I've been here about a year now.
A couple weeks ago, my wife Lynn and I decided that we were going to decorate it. So I've always been a big fan of collage, and I had a lot of posters left over from the world's greatest rock and roll trivia show that I ran with Wayne Przybylski for many years at both the Green Hut and also at Washington Place. I had a number of posters from my rock and roll class that I ran for quite a few years at Kramer Junior High School when I was teaching there. And Barry Kane, who owned the sawmill, donated a great number of photographs and flyers and posters from the many groups that played at the sawmill, and I kind of went through those and tried to select all the different bands that had come from Michigan, had formed in Michigan. So we've got those in here. Also, a guy by the name of Jim Render was an artist who produced a great number of really outstanding flyers for primarily the Silver Bell, which was a teen dance club in the Detroit area. And all his originals have been given to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, but luckily for us, he made copies of everything and donated these to the museum, and I was able to put most of these flyers, and these are flyers, they had some real early performances by the Scott Richard Case, and then later, of course, they became SRC, the Bob Seger System, the Third Power. I'm trying to think of all the other groups, the MC5, of course, the Rationals, the Stooges, as well as some national groups like the Spencer Davis Group. I'm trying to think.
Stones are behind you. Rolling Stones.
Well, they didn't play the Silver Dome. That's
they did.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, not they played the Silver Dome, not the Silver Bell.
Right.
Okay,
right,
so yeah, we've got some posters like the Rolling Stones and Elvis, and it's some Beatles, of course. It's a rock and roll thing here.
There's some Madonna in here. I like it.
Well, we do have a photo of Madonna, but of course we have a pretty great display of Madonna at the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends exhibit. So we don't have too much Madonna in here.
Are those downtown signs that were up last summer going back up this year downtown? The ones that
they're really in rough shape.
Okay.
They didn't weigh them down enough on the base, and so they were constantly tipping over, scraping on the sidewalk. Also, unfortunately, they were the victim of some vandalizing in downtown Bay City. That especially happened to our the Madonna Aaliyah sign that we had here, which was in absolutely great condition. And the weekend before we were taking it down to put it in the museum and then get it back to downtown Bay City Development, somebody knocked it down and stomped on it, and just an idiot move. So I would love to have some of those posters there. I'll have to get with, Sam and Kelly over there and see what they plan to do with those things. Maybe we could, because they're all Michigan artists.
Yeah, I know when I was talking with Bobby, we were rehearsing, and he said, let's go down the corner of blah, blah, blah. I want to get a picture next to my thing downtown. And it was taken that week. And I'm like, because we were getting our photos done for our photo sessions. And I'm like, how cool of him to be able to tell people that there's a display outside that they can walk by in downtown Bay City, seeing the push marks.
Yeah, it was really a good idea, and I wrote the little bit of biographical information, and so I was pretty directly involved, provided them with a lot of the pictures that they blew up. But again, the base just couldn't hold up to the winds that were whipping down the street here in Bay City in the summertime. So, it was a great idea, but, it was just there was an element there that didn't work. Also, of course, in 2024, we have our latest inductions. We have 4 artists inducted, and those are Sixto Rodriguez, the Searching for Sugar Man guy from Detroit, and only our second Hispanic inductee to the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame. First, of course, being Question Mark and the Mysterians. Also, we have Doug Feiger. Most people probably know Doug Feiger from the Knack. The band that he formed in California had that great hit, My Sharona. But before that, Doug was born, grew up in the Detroit area, and he had a band called Sky that played everywhere. Playing the Grandee and all the various teen clubs in the Detroit area.
SKY.
SKY. It was like a power trio. But the interesting thing about Doug Feiger was he somehow managed to meet Jimmy Miller, who was the producer of the Rolling Stones. Yeah. Jimmy Miller actually went to the Feiger house and heard Sky play in the basement and helped get them a deal with RCA Records. And he produced their first record. And even Bobby Keys, it was recorded at the Stones mobile unit. I think part of it was recorded in Mick Jagger's house in England. And Bobby Keys even played, the saxophonist that played on so many Stones records. He even played on a couple
This is the first Sky record?
That's the first Sky record.
I didn't even know
I do have that in vinyl.
Wow.
And there's one that's probably pretty valuable, Fred. We've got him as it's pretty good. They did a second album that didn't do quite as well for RCA, and I'm trying to think what that one was called, Sailor's Delight, maybe. Mm-hmm. And anyways, and then of course,
where was the Feiger home at, Gary?
I'd have to go back and look at his biography that I wrote. I can't remember exactly what city he grew up in. One of the kind of the suburbs in the Detroit area. Okay. And then, of course, we've got Eddie Floyd. What can you say? Eddie Floyd started out in the Falcons. And from there, after the Falcons broke up, he went to actually work as a songwriter for Stax Records, and he wrote a song with Steve Cropper called Knock on Wood that they wanted to give to Otis Redding, and Otis, for one reason or another, that's when he was really hot, didn't have time or whatever it was, it didn't get recorded, so Eddie Floyd recorded it. It became his first big hit, and he went on to have a pretty successful career as not only a solo artist, but as a songwriter as well. And by the way, I just put this on the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends Facebook page. It was just announced that Knock on Wood is going to be inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame this year.
Beautiful.
So big feather in the cap for Eddie Floyd.
Cool.
He just put out a biography that's pretty interesting also. Especially the early years, in Detroit, and when he was working with Mac Rice and Joe Stubbs and Wilson Pickett.
Well, the first Falcons were actually, I think, two white guys
Two white
and
guys.
two black guys.
Yeah, but they weren't doing the R&B
Right.
stuff. They were more like supper club,
Right.
jazz, pop, that kind of thing. And of course, our fourth inductee is none other than Larry McCrae, and Larry's been a guest on our podcast twice. We were able to get him and his lovely partner Peggy to come in and present Larry with an induction certificate here a few weeks ago in the Hall of Fame. And of course, we're looking forward to his new album, which is going to be coming out in probably late spring, early summer, according to Larry. So anyways, those are the four inductees. And of course, we also induct songs. So the biggest hit by the Falcons was You're So Fine. That was inducted this year. And we have Al Green's I'm Still in Love with You. Great soul tune. Lose Yourself by Eminem. And my son did a, what would you call, I guess you would call it a sample. And we did a little introductory video for school groups that are coming to the museum about what the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame is all about. And also maybe for some adult groups, not everybody that comes to museums is a big rock and roll fan. It's only about 6.5 minutes long. And, my son Brennan did a sample of Lose Yourself, and it runs through the entire video. It's really cool. So he did. It's just the instrumental part. So you're not hearing Eminem's voice at all on that. Okay. Also, we have a ballad by Della Reese called, her big hit was Don't You Know from 1959. And finally, Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. And also I put up on the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends Facebook page that the White Stripes are nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. Of course, they are already in the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame. So that's the big inductees for this year. The other thing I guess I could probably talk about is the video series that my son Brennan and I are doing. And, it kind of, Fred and I are kind of dealing with the same thing. We're both interested in the history of rock and roll. Fred maybe is a little bit more expansive. He's looking at other types of music styles as well as rock and roll. And I just kind of came up with the idea, I'd like to do this, rather than writing it out, I wanted to do it as a series of videos. And so what I have in mind right now is a series that might incorporate possibly anywhere from 15 to 20 videos. And I'm really kind of looking at the first 2 decades of Michigan rock and roll. And the videos are a little different because if you look at most music videos, or videos about the history of rock and roll rather than music videos, I kind of misspoke myself there. In those types of things, there's a lot of talking heads and there's music, but usually you're not going to hear much more than 20 to 30 seconds of a song. And our approach in these videos is we want to try to balance the talk with the music. So we try to keep them to a length that about 25 or 26 minutes so that people visiting the museum might want to sit in our little theater down there for 25 minutes or so and watch something on the history of Michigan rock and roll. But we play the entire song because, the idea is the reason we're talking about Michigan's rock and roll history is because of the songs. Mm-hmm. So we're putting the emphasis on the songs. And then, of course, there's narration. I'll do the narration and kind of set the stage for the song and give the history behind it and so on. But we're trying to achieve that balance. Then the other challenge, of course, is you're doing a video, but there's very few clips of these early performers, especially doing the songs. So if you're going to present the song, you need to have something to look at. It's a video. So what we've done is try to make our own little videos to accompany each song. And sometimes there's enough maybe still photos of an artist that you can do kind of like a collage or almost like a slideshow of photos of the performers. Often there's maybe not even enough to do that. So if we find a video of, let's say, young people dancing, all right, you can play the song and then you're watching people dancing from the 1950s. Or maybe there's a silent movie that has some interesting stuff on it. On the last one that we did, we actually used a clip of Laurel and Hardy dancing to a song by Andre Williams called Bacon Fat. That was, it was a pretty big R&B hit in Detroit, especially around 1955 or 56. Of course, no performance footage of Andre Williams at all. But it's a pretty neat little video to watch him dancing to that particular song. So we're doing those kinds of things. We've got 4 of them done so far. We're in the process of doing one on rockabilly, and I'm trying to work in Lafayette.
Yarborough?
Lafayette Yarborough's song "Cool Cool Baby," and so we're trying to decide how do we, there's no performance footage of Lafayette, but we're looking at a number of different videos how we might be able to work this particular song in.
I have tons of photos.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of photos too. So we're looking at, do we want to do the photos, and that came from our visit with Lafayette here. And he was a guest, of course, on the podcast as well. So we'll see, maybe, we could do kind of like a slideshow, but unfortunately the song kind of predated those pictures that we've got of him,
right?
Which is, when he was performing with Lafayette in the LeSabres, or, mostly in the Flint area, but around the Midwest as well. So we'll just have to see what we come up with on that. But, we wanted to, highlight Jack Scott, of course, probably the greatest rockabilly artist to come out of Michigan. And we got a nice poster and an autograph photo of Jack Scott. That guy was amazing. He sounded exactly the same when he was like 79, 80 years old as he did back when he recorded Leroy and Goodbye Baby and all The Way I Walk and all those hits back in the 1950s.
Is he still around?
No, sadly, Jack died a few years ago.
Okay.
He could also do Dean Martin songs, just perfect. You'd think it was Dean Martin.
Yeah. And he had such a distinctive voice. I mean, it was just like, it always reminded me of Johnny Cash. You hear a record and it's Johnny Cash immediately. Jack Scott, he had that very distinctive voice. So anyways, that's what's going on in the museum.
It's been a really nice year bringing the music into the Hall of Fame, or the Hall of Fame into the museum here, and it's expanded the museum extensively. It's kind of become a nice highlight for the Bay City Historical Society, would you say?
I think so too. It's great having the podcast here, and it's a perfect spot for it. I mean, we're dealing with Michigan music, and here's the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame right here, and and this room is really good, way better than when we were doing it in the hallway. And
What are the hours if people wanted to come see all the displays and stuff here?
Well, right now, the museum is, we're kind of like in an austerity period. So we're only open 4 days a week from 10 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon from Tuesday through Friday. And, I'm on the board, and one of the things I'm bound and determined that we're going to do is that this museum is going to be open on Saturday. I would like it to be, once we can get back to 5 days a week, I would like the museum open Tuesday through Saturday. Forget Monday. That's, was the lowest attendance day at the museum over the years, and no sense going back to that day. But, Saturday, that opens it up to people that work. Yeah. If you're only open from 10 to 4 during the week, that pretty much eliminates anybody that's got a day job.
Yep.
So this gives people a chance to maybe bring their kids to the museum on the weekend. So we'll just see how it goes. But right now, we're going to need to add some more staff in order to have that happen. So,
and staff are volunteers, right?
No, the staff we have 3 paid full-time employees. In fact, our 3 paid female employees are basically directing the museum. They are co-managing, I guess you would call it, and doing a great job. But we need, obviously we need some more people. But volunteers are very important. And, we've got one really great volunteer who works the desk out in the front most of the time. And, there's just a lot of things that need to be done.
Where can people donate and become members to this?
Well, you can become members. I think you can become members online, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you have to, because I just became a member again. I just paid my dues.
Me too. I did it online.
And you have to send a check.
Or I use a credit card.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I used my credit card and it worked.
You did?
It went through.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to edit that spot out, what we're talking about. I just kind of wanted Gary to direct people to the website so they could maybe try to do what we're doing.
Yeah. All right. And, certainly if there's a lot of benefits to becoming a member, there are special events for members that periodically during the year. Also, one thing that, if you're a rock and roll fan, you get links to the videos that we show at the Robert and Ann Hatchell Theater, and you can watch them on your computer. So that's kind of a nice thing too.
And all the extra money will definitely help putting more people in here to work so we can have the extended hours.
Right.
Have more people come through it.
Exactly.
Because last year, definitely, especially around the Hell's Half Mile time, we were getting a lot of feedback for people coming to town for Hell's Half Mile and not being able to come to the museum. So
yeah, I know. That's a big thing. Well, and not only Hell's Half Mile, but you think about all the events that are going on in downtown Bay City and people coming in for the weekend. And yeah, you'd like to have the museum open on Saturday, that's for sure. So anyways, that's something I'm going to be working on, and we'll see what happens.
So if people are making a nice little trek right now to Bay City and they want to check this out, and you got a Friday available in your timeline, if not weekdays, be here before 4:00 to come down to the Bay County Historical Society here.
Yeah, it's really a great little museum. It's not just the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame, but there's a lot of really great displays about the history of Bay County, and it's worth it. It's a real nice little museum. That theater I was talking about, I think we are the only museum in Michigan that has a little theater like that. And one of the interesting things about the Robert and Ann Hatchell Theater is all the, the seats, the carpeting, even the wall sconces were all taken from the State Theater when the State Theater was completely, refurbished and turned back into the Mayan temple that it is right now. So.
And then now the State Theater's reopened downtown, so now we have that going on for us.
Exactly, and I'm sure more and more things are going to be happening at the State. So,
isn't the toy museum?
The toy museum is just down the street, right? Not, I think maybe 3 blocks, south of, the Historical Museum and City Hall, and go beyond the YMCA, and the toy museum, or the fire
truck museum,
fire truck and toy museum.
Yep,
it's down there.
I think it's going to open the spring or summer. There's just an article on Route Bay City or whatever it's called,
and that's on the toy museum. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I haven't ever been over there. So I
All
don't
of this
know.
is on Washington Avenue,
Yeah.
and I think all of it is on the west side of Washington Avenue that we're
Yeah.
talking about. Matter of fact, Dunlop, Mike's got the society
That's
going on
right.
in Dunlop
Got the
every night
showroom
now.
down here, and that's just a
Uh-huh.
block north of the museum, and we got entertainment down there. And,
All these historical places are
and
starting to
there's
really
all
bloom.
kinds of stuff going on in downtown Bay City. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you know, really some great little restaurants and bars with great food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a cool spot.
Well, it's
You know, we
amazing.
truly are a cool city. You remember they used to have that sign.
Yeah.
I don't know whatever happened
We
to
talked
that.
about that a couple episodes back. I
Yeah,
think.
that's back when Jennifer Granholm was the
Yeah.
governor.
Yeah.
And I think now we are a much cooler city
Mm-hmm.
than when we were designated a cool city.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's for sure. It's. I think the music focus that we've turned this area into too has been a big thing that's come along. And we're not, as you know, podcast listeners, you listen to all of the music from Michigan music, but definitely the Hall of Fame is a nice little exclamation point for everything that we got going on. You got to come see this room. You got to come visit the displays. It's a beautiful place to come to.
yeah, if I'm around, I'd be happy to lead a tour for anybody that would like to hear all the stories behind the displays. And then I could take you into the studio as well. So
Yeah.
the studio is not part of the general tour.
Right. It's
You know, you
definitely
have to
locked
have
away.
somebody take you through this one.
Our room is behind locked doors for
That's
us
right.
private VIPs here. My Mike Beatty's in the house. That's the only time we
That's
do it.
right. Okay.
And if Freddie's here, he can give him a blues discussion.
That's right.
Yeah, we got everything going on here with that. But that's cool. This is great what we got going on for this year. It looks like it's going to be exciting heading into the summer. We're battling the bridge issues right now, as we all know. However, Vets Bridge, the one that is free, dumps you right off here at the studio, at Dunlop,
That's right.
at the state. We are all within walking distance, and you can't beat that because the one bridge that is still left here that you can come to it puts you
That's
right
free,
here downtown.
yes.
It's free. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a long time before the Lafayette opens again. And I don't know what they're going to do with these, the two toll bridges, that whole thing of jacking up the price and then declaring that, you know, there were no longer going to be, you know, that pass system that they had, which we signed up for. And, you know, I don't mind, you know, paying a reasonable sum of money to cross the bridges, but geez.
But doubling it's a whole other thing. Yeah.
Well, even that, but they're doing away with
Then
it.
July it's done.
You know,
yeah.
in summer. So
Yeah.
I mean, geez.
Yeah.
So when they say they're done with it, what exactly does that mean?
They're
They
revamping their
they
idea.
Can't go over it.
Well, you'll be able to go over it, but you'll be charged $2
Oh.
every time you cross the bridge. So, you know, if you got to go to the west side and you live on the east side, it's $2 to go over and, you know, $2 back. So, you know, like it's $4 every time you want to make a trip. So, yeah, I mean, having one of those monthly things is really the way to go if you're doing any kind of traveling back and forth. But, you know, if they're going to do away with it, well, gee, that's really going to put a burden on people that, you know, have to work, you know, when you're crossing, going back and forth over those bridges.
Yeah. Well,
And
totally.
you're talking a lot of money here.
Yeah.
That, you know, if you're working every day, you know, I don't know, some jobs require you to cross back and forth more than once. You know,
Yeah, I'm one of them that's I work all over the city, and my business pays for my $15 right now, and from the sounds of things, they're going to pay for the 30. But when it gets reevaluated in July, whatever that ends up meaning, we're waiting to see. So
yeah, I don't know, 30. I mean, it still might be economical. It just depends how much you do the traveling.
right,
You know, like right now, we're, you know, we walk every day. And because of, you know, this wintertime, we walk out at the Bay City Mall. So we're going back and forth every day to walk out there. So that's,
from Essexville, it's so much easier to take Trumbull, I imagine, or instead of coming down here to Vets to cut across. To
oh
the
yeah,
mall.
no doubt about it. We like to take the, you know, what is it, the Independence Bridge?
Independence Bridge, yeah.
Independence Bridge, sure. That's the route to
Independence
go.
and Liberty. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
the two that,
You know, and you don't have that the traffic snarling that you get
Right.
on the Vets Bridge with everybody, trying to use it, and especially during the busy times. Yeah, and all that traffic on Veterans Memorial, something's going to break down.
Yeah. Well, the
what?
infrastructure itself in the next 3 years because
Wasn't
of
it last
Lafayette
Thursday
being down.
during our podcast that
was
there was something happening?
Something happened on the bridge, an accident, or somebody lost control of their vehicle, and that was closed down for a number of hours, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean that you can still get home, but you got to go on the toll bridge.
Well, before we sign off tonight, Freddie, I got to ask you, and I know you've told the story before, but with Gary talking about the songs that are getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, you used to know the guy from Saginaw that wrote Hickory Wind. Can you give me a little...
Buchanan, Bob
and he used
Schiedner.
Bob Buchanan?
Well, that's the stage name, but his real name was Bob Schiedner.
And he was in Saginaw, correct?
Yeah.
And okay. Well,
He first went out to New York in the Village, and he befriended Fred Neil and a bunch of the Village people. Not the band, but
Not the disco girl.
right. So somehow he died before I got to actually interview him. But I don't know. He was in the New Christie Minstrels
oh, yeah?
for 2 or 3 years and 2 or 3 albums that they did.
Well, he probably met Gene Clark. He was in the New Christie Minstrels.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Bob actually came to one of my classes when I was, I taught those rock and roll classes through the Ollie program at Saginaw Valley State University. And he came in and, he came up after class and was talking to me. He said, I wrote Hickory Wind. I said, oh my God.
Yeah, right?
That's definitely my favorite song from the Sweethearts of the Rodeo album by the Byrds.
Well,
just a great tune.
At one concert once, another Bay City person, Shara Shambo, she used to sing that song.
Oh, yeah.
And Bob heard her sing it, and he had tears. I saw him. I wish I had, he had tears coming down.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, the great music that's coming out of our state and our area that we podcast out of. So it's like when you told that story, I always was like, I wanted to have a show where we could actually document you talking about it a little bit, because that song is such a timeless song.
It's classic.
The guy's from right here.
Yeah, I mean,
well, him and Graham Parsons wrote it on a train coming from out east to the West Coast. And I'm not sure who wrote the lyrics and who wrote the music.
Never find out. Well,
No.
yeah, both are gone
And now he wouldn't interview or do an interview for anybody because those days were his drug days. And he was trying to forget all of that. And that's why he moved back to Saginaw and end up retiring from steering gear.
Wow.
But, he got back into performing again. A little bit, anyway.
A little bit.
Yeah. Because actually we saw him after the class was over. Oh, you probably remember this, Lynn, because we were at BMO's with Tim and Luana, and Bob came in, and I brought him over and introduced him to, Lynn and our friends. And, he was performing that night.
See, for years, he and I didn't talk.
Yeah.
Because one time at the Hamilton Street pub, I told him Mike Bloomfield had passed away when he passed away. So Bob, he got upset about it, and he just took me by my shirt and threw me up against the wall. And he used to drink a lot, and that was a problem. But years later, at our bass player's funeral, Bruce Crowley, Bob was there, and that was the first time I had seen him in 15 years, 12 years. And he must have went to AA because he said, hey, if I ever did anything to you, I'm sorry. And I thought...
You told me the story. That's why another reason I wanted to
Did
see
you
if-
bring up the actual incident?
No.
Oh, okay.
But he knew, he remembered it.
Does
I'm
he
sure
have
he
family
did.
left in this area that
No.
might collect his royalties or anything?
No, I don't even think he had. I never knew anybody in his family.
I'd be curious to see where that money goes nowadays because both those guys being gone,
Yeah.
Right.
It's just a fantastic Michigan story that we probably will never have a chance to talk to on a podcast outside of one of these types
Yeah,
of
it's
shows.
too bad. Bob would have been a great guest on the podcast.
Yeah,
if he was willing to talk about those days.
well, he was starting to, and he came up to me at one of my book signings, and he said, he bought my book and read the first book, and he said, I want you to interview me. And I went, whoa, okay, sounds good to me. And
Just didn't happen, unfortunately.
Didn't happen.
Yeah.
Just like some of our podcasts, we've
That's
tried to
right.
get them, and they're
Yeah, the Jim Atherton one, I feel real bad about that, because he was into it too. He was real interested in coming, and yeah, that would have been perfect for Daniel too. There's somebody we had searched for I don't know how many years. We couldn't track him down. I had a couple leads through, would have been Mark Farner's. I guess it was his son's wife, and they knew Jim, but I don't know if, they didn't want to give the information out or whatever it was. We lost our phone, we lost his number. We don't have his number. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you guys, and here we are for another year, and we've just rolled our 4th year on the podcast. We have the same crew. Thank you, Mike, Mr. Mike, and Sir Fred Rife, Dr. J, Gary Johnson, and myself, Scott Baker. We will see you guys down the road and another podcast coming up here on Thursday. Thanks.
On behalf of our hosts, this podcast wouldn't be here without generosity of the Bay City Historical Museum, which hosts the Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame. We'd also like to thank all of our guests, and especially to the listeners. The MMHP is found at 989.network, or where all podcasts can be found. You can find updated information as well as Dr. J and Sir Fred's Picks of the Week on Facebook. Also on Facebook, check out Mr. Mike's Local Music Live series and Scott's Mid-Mitten 15 from Harvest Canteen Studios, featuring one-on-one interviews with Michigan music artists. You can connect with Scott on the web at scottbakermusic.com, Dr. J at michiganrockandrolllegends.com, Sir Fred at fredrife.com, and Mr. Mike on YouTube as Mr. BT1. That's MRBTEE and the number 1.
On behalf of us hosts, Dr. J, Sir Fred, Mr. Mike, and myself, we'd like to thank Mr. Eddie Swite